Hi, everybody, and welcome back to CAD 2131. This is Lab 7. We're pretty much there. Hopefully, your project is looking fantastic. The box is pretty much done now. You've added the grommets and you've created some assembly drawings, and the big one that's left is the door. Okay. The door is great because that is our user interface. This is where we put our buttons, our switches, our indicators, anything that we need. This is where it's going to be for the user. Now, as with any user interface, we need to think about how we're going to lay it out. It needs to be in a logical fashion. Typically, I try to do things top to bottom, left to right, and try to put it in the order of operations that people are going to need to do it. So, starting is going to be kind of in the top left. This is where I'm going to initialize the power, and then at some point I'm going to choose whether I'm uh, in manual mode or in automatic mode, and maybe uh, some buttons that have to do with single stepping and jogging and what have you. But the one thing that we do want prevalent and clear of any obstacles is the emergency stop button. Okay, so um, logical layout is one thing. Uh, Being able to access very comfortably emergency equipment is paramount. Okay. Um, Thinking about where you would put stops is something that you're going to get into in the next couple of years. And obviously, one stop around an entire piece of equipment may not be sufficient. If guarding isn't available, you may need emergency stops in multiple places. Okay. So, definitely something to think about. But we also need to worry about aesthetics. Okay. Um, Now, everybody seems to be a fan of symmetry, so having your parts laid out in a symmetrical fashion, or at least in a pattern, is ideal. And so what I do is I create some construction lines to lay out my button and my indicator lamps. All right, and we're going to take a look at that here in a second. Now, in the base in the box, we used cable troughs. There's going to be a lot of wires running around there. Typically, we don't run them up onto the door as much. We tend to do wire looming. Okay, so you'll have your wires run up, and then you'll use zip ties or something to bundle them together. And how you do this in the real world is something that takes a lot of technique and a lot of practice. But luckily, here in the CAD world, we're not going to worry about actually running cables. But you do need to think about having sufficient room around your parts to run these cables. So don't try to cram them as close as possible. Try to keep 25 to 50 millimeters between the parts where you will actually run your wires. Okay. And so this is a 2 week lab. As you can see here, I do want you to save your file as AutoCAD. I want all the door modifications done. I want all of the assembled parts in there. So I want all of your switches, all of your buttons, all of your indicator lamps, everything in there, and properly detailed. Now, remember, I don't need detailed drawings of purchased items, only modified items. Okay. Now, your assembly drawing, absolutely put it in there, but I don't need a detailed drawing of your emergency stop switch. Okay. That's not required. Remember that this is my CAD. This is not your CAD. There's no reason for it to be um, exactly the same by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. So let me just turn everything on here, because then you can see uh, exactly how I laid mine out. Okay, so I've got my construction lines on the side, I've got my construction lines on the top, and I basically just laid this out as so. So what I have here is my selector switch, my on-off sort of deal, and uh, manual auto. start, stop, and my 3 indicator lamps. There's not a whole lot of rhyme and reason to how I laid mine out. Take your time with yours. So let's take a look at my door layout here. Okay, so here's my dimensions. Yes, it's lost the association. Don't worry about it if it happens to you. I'm not going to get too awfully stressed about it. Typically, what you can do is basically reassociate and pick your points. I'm not really worried about it. Okay, what I'm looking for though is I'm looking for in this case I have my 22 millimeter holes, uh, which 7/8 is a little bit big, but that's okay. And there are 7 of them. So 2, 4, 6, 7. And I give the position of each of them. The rest of it, I don't really need to dimension. This hole comes standard with mine. And so we're good enough. Okay. Now the door assembly is the other one that you want to look at. And in this case, I'm showing the depth of them. I have a nice isometric view and the layout here at the top. So my on off, my stop button, my start button, an indicator lamp, my manual auto, and then 2 lamps for the status of the water level. Fairly easy, fairly benign. Do have some time to work on it, but again, looking for perfection, uh, and basically take the extra time to button up everything that we've talked about and that I've sent you feedback on. Okay, so at this point, you should be looking at having a cover page that looks similar to this. We're going to have your panel view, door assembly, now your box assembly, your panel detail, your door detail, the box detail, your wiring diagrams, and you can bring in your bill of materials when you feel comfortable that you're gotten there. Okay, so this is my BOM. Please use yours. Don't copy mine. But if there's something that you're missing at this point, feel free to peruse it and substitute as necessary. And then I finalize my little drawing package. So this is lab 7. The last grade for this is actually going to be the final project. This is the final project. What you're going to do is you're going to hand in your lab this time. I'm going to give you your feedback, and I want you to finish it off. I want you to clean it up. I want everybody to get 30 out of 30 on their final project and have something brilliant that they're hopefully proud of, that speaks to their own design intent, and you would be more than willing to show one of your other professors or prospective employer, hey, look, I can do this. I managed to source the parts. I managed to assemble the 3D CAD, create the detailed drawings, and aside from building it and testing it, it's all me. All right. So that's the idea. And from what I've seen, I'm proud of everybody so far. Keep up the good work. And as always, have fun. Send in questions, comments, suggestions. My email box is always open. All right. And yeah, have yourself a great week. All right. Bye now.